very warm welcome to a new episode of Insights with InMobi. This is an interesting video series where we celebrate the journey of some of the brightest minds behind some of the most inspiring brands in Asia. In this thought leadership series, we explore how some of the most prominent leaders in the world of marketing, advertising, and media have changed the game by leveraging digital technologies to solve key business challenges and also drive tangible outcomes. I'm your host for today, Narayan Murthy. I'm the Director in Digital Native and Performance for Southeast Asia Business at InMobi. And joining me today is Vishal Kanse. He's the Regional Ad Operations Head for Mediadonuts, a global digital first agency. Hi, Vishal. Thank you so much for taking time and welcome to our series.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Yeah, so I think we have been speaking a lot between each other, obviously about work because we interact when you reach out to us in terms of your client requirements and all of that. But unfortunately, the pandemic era has not really helped us because otherwise we would have met in your office, either here in Singapore or somewhere else, and we would have had a coffee or a drink or whatever, and we would have known each other better. So it's very strange in this scenario that most of the interactions we are having are either on calls like this. But I really want all of our audience and even me and my team also to understand a little more about who is Vishal, what ticks him. I always know the other side, the serious side of conversations, right? But I also want to know the personal side of it. So to kick things off in this session, so tell us a little more about you. I mean, where did you start? Maybe interest? Do you sing? Do you watch movies? What really ticks you? So how did you get into advertising in the first place?
Yeah, so I can directly say it's a kind of accident. So I done my BTech like in IT profession. Then I started done my .NET certifications, coding and everything. So I'm main into the coding part. But in my first job, I was dealing with what we can say the website development and all this kind of stuff. So WordPress and all these kind of materials. So I started developing what we can say the interest in how exactly the digital media is, because we many times from the client feedback we get, we want a SEO perspective website, or we want to be mobile friendly because we are spending into the advertising and we want user to be. So that comes into what exactly it is, why people are emphasizing so much into this technology, what makes them to spend so much of money for advertising. So slowly I just started reading the blogs, everything, and what exactly advertising, because I know only the traditional medium. Then I started reading about what is the digital medium, how it's different. Then comes to how the ads being placed, what are the technology being used, how actually the backend works. So I am more into what we can say tech kind of a guy. So I just wanted to know how exactly the background works, how the servers works, how from start to end, like from developing app to monetizing it, and how every app makes the money. Like sometimes questions come to mind, how can everything is free, like how can like app owners gives you this free stuff. So then I started reading, then talked with some of the thought leaders, then I attended the seminars, and then I come to know that there is nothing kind of free. So there is some cost involved into it. So it's either through ad or either through a subscription model. So that
no, absolutely. There are no free lunches at all. So everything has a cost, but maybe hidden cost somewhere. Yeah.
So that makes fall into all this tech kind of thing. So my interest diverts into that. Okay, so let's understand whole ecosystem. Then I started my career with the Opera Media works. Like I worked over there. So there I got opportunity to work in the backend, like from the integration side to see actual logs, or maybe say the server side request responses, how the all RTB bidding mechanism that time, like RTB is a boom, like programmatic is all over the places. So it was a really learning curve for me, almost 3 to 4 years, where I see all the like from integration point of view to the what we can say to the ad delivery. So from the building the app to the ads showcase to the user, and how the all data collection will take place, which are the factors we need to consider into the monetization, then which are the factors advertiser keep on asking, and then how the app owners collect the data. So it's overall
interesting journey you have from the fact that you come from a platform, and now you're an agency. So how does that transition happen? Because obviously agency is a different world together, right? I mean, I spent a lot of my career in agency, so it's a very different world altogether.
Yeah, so I've done this 4 years of phase of the what we can say mostly into publisher side. Then I thought, okay, we know a couple of things like how publishers works. Now it's I thought maybe let's explore how advertiser requirement, how we can cope up with the publisher thing, because that way we can understand the whole ecosystem. Because publisher and mostly you are being with the tech things more, and
Yeah.
the brand side you more into the Excel spreadsheets, targets, ROI numbers, and everything. So I just wanted to cope up both of these together to understand or to get into the complete digital ecosystem. So then I started the career into this specifically segments, and then overall we observe that that overall what we can say the branding side we seen that the most of them are using the technologies like a DSP platform. Then I explored like how DSP collects the data, like what are the metrics. Then in I'm able to explain to the digital agencies like how actually we collect the data. Like because most
Correct.
of the time the DSP is a kind of a black box to the traders and to the marketers. They
True.
just know
True.
we buy this. So then I able to explain them, see, this is data how we collect it. These are the limitations. These are the data we can get it. So this way I sounds to be like I feel like confident enough to explain the things, and I sound like okay, now the cycle has been complete. I can say not totally complete, but still I'm into the that complete funnel kind of thing where I can
Understood.
understand things.
Yeah, of course, agencies do give you a holistic perspective in that sense, right? It's a more of a 360 degree because you do are representing a client in that sense. I mean, in the digital world, obviously the whole picture is visible to you. So that's amazing. I mean, that's an interesting start you had. So let's get into a little deeper into the current situation and how do you think agencies have risen to the challenge of the recent times, right? I mean, it's a pandemic year, you know, obviously the interactions between the client and you guys are limited to a certain extent. There is a business impact on the agencies. There is obviously pressure on business, how a lot of clients have reduced their spends or maybe stopped their spends. So how do you think industries are coping up in those, in those areas, right? I mean, business impact and impact on different verticals, and what are the agencies trying to do to cope up with this?
I can say the initial period, the first 6 7 months was very bad because no one knows what's going to happen. So that impact is very huge because clients are not understanding where should I spend the money, because a lot of spends of the outdoor or maybe the money which they planned has all of the suddenly stopped. So they are into
Correct.
where should I spend and how I can judge my performance. The performance judgment is the key where they are lacking. Like they don't understand.
Measurement was a challenge, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
So the measurement and all these factors, they don't know where to put. So there are a lot of brainstorming. So I can say last couple of 1.5 year is going to be a more kind of educating to the client for the agency perspective and make them understand these are the things you can do in this time and these are the metrics or the benchmarks you should look into the your actual ad spend. So
Right.
kind of a education kind of a thing for them, and ask them to have a faith and spend the money and judge the performance, and they see in the results. It's not like because there are many clients who not spend very heavily on the digitally. Now they started to spend very heavily on a digital because of
Correct.
understanding the market conditions.
So, Vishal, do you think that performance-driven agencies and performance-driven partners are doing relatively better than others who understand the end-to-end funnel of performance? And because more and more clients also are reaching out to me and my team members and asking for performance, right? More down the funnel metrics, the better they're expecting. So, and I mean, we work with a lot of clients together.
Yeah, performance is a key, right? Because right now everyone has the to be honest, because everyone is back of the schedule 3 to 4 months, so they need to meet their quarterly budgets or quarterly targets, because it's kind of the amount they have and the targets what they are lacking in the last quarter or maybe last 2 3 quarters. So just
Mm.
to cope up with them, everyone is now into the kind of a performance piece, like, or we can say to get into the performance
Yeah.
that way, because a major organic kind of a chunk is dropped off during this 6 to 7 months. So which is
Correct.
where we need
Correct.
to cope up with that.
Yeah. And you see the evolution of agencies to the future is going to go through the performance, or is there something else which will happen? How will agencies go further? I mean, what will be 2022 plan for you? I mean, going deeper into performance, or maybe do something else? What do you think will happen to agencies like yours?
I think performance will be the definitely going to be key, but the second thing
Correct.
will be the data analytics. So because
Yeah.
we need to explain to the client because they don't understand. So performance is a piece, but along with the performance, data scientist or data science will come into picture where we explain him, okay, don't judge us exactly on a sale or exactly on a what we can say purchase kind of thing. Instead of, you can consider it as an uplift of the performance, or maybe the boost overall to the business, or how you are efficient in terms of your ad spends, or in terms of the revenue what you generated compared to last 6 or 7 months. So both
Correct.
the things will comes into picture.
Understood. So in going a little further, so what are the ways Media Donuts as an organization, as a digital first agency, is adapting to the changes? I mean, I know there has been a lot of shift in terms of the very nature of the business we are doing, right? Because clients are forcing us to do more performance and all of that. But a digital native generation is also changing, the consumers are changing, the clients are changing. So what way is Media Donuts adapting to the overall changes in the ecosystem, right? So what are the new things which, for example, you might tell me that, hey, last year, Narayan, we were not doing this, and this year we are trying to do that. So in what ways, maybe 3 4 examples you can give me in terms of how you guys are adapting and changing?
Yeah, so in terms of change in the shifting of the demands from the client, so the one is the representation of the data of the performance. Another thing is find out the solutions for them, like a cross-channel solutions, or maybe the new ways of identifying the audience base, like which are the potential mediums what we can use during this time. What are the new, what we can say, the media opportunities are residing in? What is the current media consumption habits of the audience is what they are looking for, and accordingly right way we can suggest them like these are the audience behavior what we can say. So what we can say apart from the data, market research is another key where we are putting more efforts and understanding and explaining to the client to get the right audience fit for them.
Correct. So do you think that in this current times, the agency dependency has changed? I mean, the client is more dependent on the agency nowadays. Do you think that is happening, or now the relationship of agency and the client has even further strengthened?
Yeah, I definitely will say that because nowadays, like we know the entire core business. Previously, if I can say, we know the only objective it belongs to us, but now they are open to us. They explain why we want this. What are the other what we can say the advertising medium what they have tried which not worked and everything. So entire piece is clear now because the only medium is now digital. So they clearly explain what are the objective what they're looking for us.
No, absolutely. I think, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, because there has been a dramatic shift in the way the business user flow has changed, right? Because most of the business user flows are not in physical world anymore, on the digital world. I mean, we are getting groceries delivered to our homes. We are getting our financial instruments delivered to our homes, and everything is happening in app world most of the time. We download an app or two. So yeah, it's moving the whole user journey, user flow. The dependencies are moving, and I'm sure that brings in a lot of dependency on agencies like yours for the clients. So that brings me to the next question. That yes, there has been a huge shift in the way clients are requesting, or clients are making sure the digital ecosystem is leveraged. Their objectives have been moving towards more and more digital user journeys. Their dependency on digital agencies, or the digital first agencies, has tremendously increased. We all have established that. Now, as Media Donuts and as Vishal representing Media Donuts, how is that you allow or help the client to stay ahead of the curve, right? What is the few things you do to make sure that the mobile as a key aspect of their media buying is kept intact, or kept in the center, right in the center of the entire planning framework. Plus programmatic as an extension of that is also a typical part of it. Let's pick up the mobile part of it, and then probably we'll talk about a little more on the programmatic side of things. So how do you help your clients making sure that mobile is an integral part of their ecosystem?
Yeah, so rightly said, like mobile is an integral part, because initially they think like the TV and other communications are the key market for them. But as we know the media consumption habits, we have the studies from the different verticals, we can explain them and we can showcase them to the performance. Like the mobile is now the key players, or what we can say the where we should focus on. And based on the performance and based on the activity we do, we generally emphasize more than 60-70% on the mobile, and rest of the things on a desktop, because now everything, like from online classes to shopping and everything is on a mobile. So
Pretty much is a mobile, yeah.
Yeah.
So I know most of our clients we work with are mobile first clients also, right? Because I call myself a digital native lead for Southeast Asia for InMobi, and that effectively means that me and my team have an expertise in answering the questions or helping the clients who are mobile first, and thereby it becomes imperative that mobile becomes the center of the entire planning framework. But we also know that programmatic has gotten more and more important over the time, right? So how is programmatic playing a role in this overall thing, and how does Mediadonuts work in that area?
Programmatic comes into a very large chunk, because now it's kind of selecting a right audience. So
Correct.
that basically we can do through programmatic. Like we can select the audience what we want, the TG, we can segment down to any level if they want, like based on from time, geo, graphical, OS, anything, like whatever the as per the client need, we can do this. And this kind of thing are possible apart from the local wall gardens of the ecosystem. So that makes a difference, because client also wanted to spend something where they don't want to spend only into the wall gardens, because they know they have their own kind of a base. But apart from that, the basic questions what we can do extra apart from this, so where the programmatic comes in, where we can do rich media, we can do video, everything. Like there is nothing we can do without the programmatic, from audience targeting, from the creative perspective, from the data analytics, tracking, measurement, measuring the success of the uplift of the campaigns, or showcasing the how brand has been evolved to the user base. So everything is properly done through the what we can say programmatic.
Awesome. Yeah. So obviously programmatic has been growing significantly even on the performance side of things, right? For example, our UA business is moving on to programmatic, and it. I mean, we work on our DSP business. More and more of our businesses are moving towards the programmatic side of things, and they also understand that programmatic comes with a set of expectation setting, which is right. I mean, it's a CPM buy at the end of the day. If your funnel is not working properly across, right from an impression to all the way to a user acquisition. So how does programmatic work in that sense is very critical to understand first, because more often than not, I've seen agencies and clients and partners come onto programmatic bandwagon with a different set of expectations, right? And then they suddenly realize, oh, this is not working, this is not happening, because their expectation was, oh, I will put money in it and something will happen. No, that is not going to happen, right? I mean, we all know that how much effort it takes for people like you and people like us on the other side to make sure that there is a proper optimization which happens, and we make meaningful outcomes out of programmatic spends, right? And it requires, most importantly, time.
Correct.
You can't, yeah. So how do you manage all of these conversations with these clients, right? Because yes, there has been probably how do I put it, a natural push towards the digital ecosystem because people didn't have choice, but they came. But you can't change a mentality of people approaching programmatic or mobile in one quarter. It will take a generation to change into something new. So I'm sure you will be bombarded with all these expectation mismatches every day. So how do you deal with all of that?
Yeah, honestly, it's kind of a, we can say, taking a digital class to the client kind of a scenario where they doesn't understand what they did. Even sometimes they don't understand what is a CPM, what is a impressions, what is a clicks. So it starts from this. So from this level. So to understand explain them how ecosystem works, how the funnel cycle works. It's difficult. It's depend on client to client, but yeah, some cases we need to explain them from the start, from the scratch. But yeah, we definitely set up benchmarks or maybe the goals from us, like, okay, for first stage we will do this one is our key matrix, second stage this one will be our key matrix, and third stage this one will be the key matrix. So we set a clear path or maybe a milestone from our end. So it should not be a kind of a different perspective from both ends. So we clear the objective and KPI at the first glance only. Like, okay, in programmatic, you can't expect the sales in a first day. It requires the time. It requires the machine learning and everything. It's kind of a steady cycle. So that kind of thing we generally explain them, understand the whole ecosystem, and then once they understand, they also they have the faith, because programmatic is a piece which generally definitely works, but through the time. So once they settle down, the things get matured enough and we get a more machine learning, then they start having the faith, okay, yes, you rightly said this is our right audience, we get a maximum what we can say purchase or sales from this, how we can leverage this, how we can boost this now. So this understanding requires a time. Maybe what we generally do is setting up some milestone for every week or every month, and that way we generally help to understand the client's psychology or maybe the objective, and then we cope up with that.
Yeah, so unfortunately, the problem with programmatic is we often position programmatic as an efficiency engine, right? Because it'll save you money. I have always been against that whole pitch, right? Because programmatic is not just about efficiency, but it's all effectiveness. I mean,
Correct.
we talk about long-term value proposition on programmatic, and that is why I keep on telling that to my team as well, and to the partners and to the clients we work with, is that you need to give it time. And time is of essence, and that is when the effectiveness, real value proposition of programmatic will come out. So going forward, I think one of the things which, you obviously deal with so many different clients, and you work with very closely with your own sales teams and your own partner teams and direct clients and partners like us. So what, according to you, would be the three most important things that marketers should keep in mind when it comes to outcome-based and impact-driven and basically performance advertising in that sense? So what are the three things which are most important to you? I mean,
I can say first thing is the data, presentation of the data, like whether it's a sales guy or AdOps guy or anyone, we need to present the data correctly, because we need to go into the shoes of the client where they understand the things. Like they don't have the digital ecosystems knowledge. They generally understand the ROI, sale, what is the return. So we need to present the data that way that they understand, or they just digest this data, because we bombard them with 150 slides and they what's the next kind of thing. So right approach, right representation of the data is one thing. Second thing is a cross sell. We can't stick to the one, like, okay, if you're doing this, if you're in your walled gardens of the ecosystem, why don't you try the programmatic? Why don't you push it? What you can see in a first, set up the benchmarks, like this week we will focus on this month we will focus on this, and showcase them the output. So that build up the trust from the client's perspective, and they will spend more into it. Like it's not setting up the wrong goals in the first month that we will give you 100 of sales and everything. So that we need to set up correctly. And third thing is education. It's kind of a bit tricky part, but education is where once they understand it, they will definitely spend it. But because it's kind of a black box step for them, programmatic. So more we give the knowledge, more we give them the understanding and the performance output, definitely this is going to be the longer term metrics.
No, so absolutely. I mean, it makes total sense, because we are in sync in the point of view that, number one, there has been a natural progression because of the COVID into the digital ecosystem by many clients. Possibly they didn't even think of digital last year. Now they are forced to do digital. And people who are already doing digital, they are like probably doubled and tripled and maybe quadrupled their expectation and expenditure on digital. Secondly, I think agencies like yours have a lot of expectation setting to do, because obviously the money is there, the money needs to be spent properly. But I completely agree with you in terms of how data plays a very, very important role, and the full funnel view plays a very important role in the whole thing, right? And as you said, the three parts of it, most important is the execution of it, the representation and the execution of the data in the right manner, in the right place, and in an ongoing manner, right? It's not just about once
Correct.
you did in a month, it does, it's an ongoing manner. So yeah, I think that amazingly summarizes the current equation and the way agencies like yours are actually trying to wade through this whole COVID issues, right? I mean, I'm sure there'll be much better times in the coming months and coming quarters. That brings us to an end of an exciting conversation with Vishal. Thank you so much, Vishal, for taking time and joining us for today for this episode, and sharing your uh, deep dive into digital advertising landscape, the challenges you guys are facing, and the opportunities you guys are having, and absolutely great insights. Really, thank you so much. And if you're keen to find more about our InMobi solutions, head over to our website, inmobi.com. And that's all for this episode. Thank you so much, and see you next time.
Thank you.